Good morning and welcome to the Landmarks Preservation Commission's public meeting and public hearing for September 30th, 2025. We're going to begin by taking attendance. I'm going to ask our General Counsel, Mark Silberman, to call the roll.
Vice Chair Master.
Here.
Commissioner Chen.
Yeah.
Commissioner Chu.
Here.
Commissioner Ginsburg.
Here.
Commissioner Goldblum. Commissioner Ikwembe.
Here.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Here.
Commissioner Mahan.
Here.
Commissioner Wilder.
This meeting is being held in our hearing room at 253 Broadway on the second floor. It is also being held via Zoom and live streamed on YouTube for anyone who would like to participate remotely. We're going to begin with a public meeting agenda for applications which have already had a public hearing. Then we're going to move to public hearing for new applications on our designated properties. Now I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Preservation, Corey Harala.
Thank you, Vice Chair Master. We'll start today's Preservation Department agenda with public meeting item number 1, LPC 25-09203, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 832, Lot 39, 284 Fifth Avenue, the Wilbraham Individual Landmark. This is a Romanesque Revival-style apartment hotel building designed by D&J Jardine and built in 1888 to 90. The application is to legalize replacement of display windows without LPC permits, modify display windows, replace infill and cladding, and install an interior display structure and signage. This was last presented at the public hearing of May 13th, 2025. No action was taken at that time. The staff will present revisions to the proposal.
Okay, let's open the proceedings. Commissioner Goldblum, would you make a motion to open the proceedings?
So moved.
Commissioner Jefferson, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the proceedings are open. You may begin.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Crarin, Preservation staff. So here you can see the building's location at the southwest corner of 5th Avenue and West 30th Street, along with the 1940s tax photo on the right. In addition, here are some photos of the building over time to remind you of the conditions. This is the condition at the building at the time designation in 1998. The storefront infill at the 5th Avenue facade had been removed and replaced with modern glassy infill featuring a stone curb and with granite cladding at the formerly cast iron center pier. The transom windows were covered with metal roll-down gate enclosures at both facades, which also served as the sign bands. At the West 30th Street facade, elements of the historic storefront remained intact. Here are some color photos showing those conditions with the signage at the enclosures since removed, and elevation drawings showing the areas of work. The proposal includes the installation of signage, the replacement of doors at 5th Avenue, legalization of the replacement of the glazing with butt-glazed panes of glass at the 30th Street facade, replacement of bulkheads at that facade, and installing interior displays at the 2 windows at that facade as well. At the public hearing, commissioners present expressed a consensus of support for the replacement of the glazing, legalizing the replacement of the glazing at West 30th Street facade display windows. Comments regarding the display behind the windows were mixed. While some commissioners present felt that they could find the new granite cladding at the pier at 5th Avenue appropriate, others wanted to see a more restorative approach at that location. There was a consensus among commissioners present that the covering of the historic transom windows by new sign panels after removing the roll-down gates would be inappropriate, and there was also consensus that the applied mullions should be omitted from the scope of work. The applicants have returned with a revised proposal. At 5th Avenue, the scope has been changed in the following ways. The applied mullions were removed from the scope of work. And just to remind you, the previous proposal is on the top and the new proposal is on the bottom. Instead of recladding the center pier, the modern cladding that exists now will be removed and a new glass fiber reinforced concrete pier will be installed, matching the details of the historic existing pier on West 30th Street. Please note that as it is shown in this presentation as a combination of brownstone with GFRC at the top capital area. However, the applicants have since revised this part of the proposal to be entirely GFRC. The historic transom windows will be exposed, painted black to match the rest of the infill, and will have a black film installed at the glazing. And then the signage has been changed so that it will be mounted on a channel instead of on a projecting sign panel covering the transoms. The proposed lettering is acrylic with the larger upper row featuring internal illumination and a non-illuminated lower row. The proposal for the new unframed doors is the same as was previously presented, as is the proposal to reclad the existing deteriorated granite storefront curb in a new dark granite. In this slide, you can see the interior plan on West 30th Street, which shows the location of the interior display. This aspect of the proposal also remains unchanged from the prior presentation. On West 30th Street, the same changes have been made with respect to the transom windows, signage, and omission of the applied mullions. The proposal for the new paneled bulkheads remains the same as was previously presented. And additional, just to note that additional signage shown on this elevation complies with the commission's rules. Here are details of the signage in section at the Fifth Avenue facade compared to the prior proposal on the left. And then those same details at West 30th Street. And here are details of the proposed bracket signs. The design of the signs is the same as previously presented. They would be proposed to be mounted to the signage channel. Just some details of the materials. And finally, a rendering showing the overall proposal as previously presented on the top and then as proposed today. The applicant is also here and can answer any questions, and if there's anything you want to add. Any questions?
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Oh, Commissioner Chu?
I'm trying to understand, is that the signage on the proposal just floats over the center column element? Is that what it's showing there?
My name is Pierre Teruz. I'm here with Azark. Yes, so it has a bracket that goes across and connects on both sides of the pillars that are on each side. And if you can see, it kind of hovers in front of the column in the middle.
The column in the middle has articulation and relief, right? So
Correct.
it has to stick out quite a bit to even clear it.
So because of the pillars being so thick, it actually clears all of that. And we are going to, so right now, currently that condition is dilapidated, so there's nothing behind it. We're going to recreate all of that column detailing based on what it is on the 30th Street side.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mahan?
Are there, what are are there vertical mullions at the storefront glazing? I couldn't tell.
No, they're butt joint. They're glass butt jointed, no mullions.
Are you able to do that from an energy code standpoint?
Those were the existing conditions, so that's what's there. We're not replacing those.
Oh, I see. Okay. Because it changed, the drawing changed from the proposal to now.
Yes, we
So
were
the
going
proposal was to change the glass, but now you're not changing the glass?
No, we were never changing the glass. We were just, there's glass on 30th Street that was installed without a permit. And on Fifth Ave, it's already in place. What we were changing is mullions at the joints just to kind of cover that for a look point perspective view. But
Oh,
the client and you guys didn't want it, so we took
okay.
it.
So there is a change to the way the elevation looks, but that's just the application of superficial mullions, which is now being eliminated. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, we did receive a letter from the HDC, which was shared with the commissioners in advance of today's meeting. So in general, I would say that it looks like the applicant has addressed many of the commissioners' previous comments. Commissioner Ginsburg, I believe that you were here the last time this was presented. Would you like to start this one?
I'd be happy to. So I think they've responded to all of our comments from last time. They got rid of the applied mullions. They have now pulled the signage off of the transom and exposed the glass transom, painted it black because presuming there's nothing behind there to see. And they've then taken the middle column on the Fifth Avenue side and recreated something approaching what was there before instead of making it black. So I think this is appropriate and they've responded to our comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, I think this is an improvement over the last time. And given, you know, the way that is evolved over the last hearing, I can find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Mayan?
Yeah, I recognize that I didn't see this the first time around. You know, so I'll follow generally my fellow commissioners lead who were here. I do see the improvements in many areas and appreciate them. I find the signage, which covers partially the restored center column with its decorative top, to be quite disruptive to the architecture. And there appears to be plenty of space within the transom to accommodate a sign of the same or similar scale to one side or the other. So that would be my one comment, that perhaps that should be reconsidered. But I'm curious to hear what other commissioners who may have seen this last time think about that as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
Yeah, I find it much more improved, but my issue is the new one is much more modern, makes a lot of sense. It's beautiful. The signage, though, the floating of the sign, which is kind of a modern idea off the architecture, doesn't quite work for me. And I think, you know, the top one is standard, you see it all the time, and it works well. But this idea is not working out right now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chu?
I don't believe I was here when this first came through. I don't recall seeing the proposal, but I can see improvements from the previous to the proposed. However, I do have an issue with the signage. I agree with Frank's assessment. I would have felt more comfortable if it were located on the left dark upper panel. It just feels off to create the element and then cover it. And I think graphically, because of the tones involved, it feels very busy to me. The architectural elements I feel comfortable with, but I would support a move to have the applicant relook at the signage element.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe?
I also wasn't here for the initial hearing, but I am glad to see the responses made to the comments that were made previously. I think that it was a move in the right direction. I overall can find this appropriate, but I do agree with Commissioner Mann that the sign positioning should be looked at again.
Thank you. And Commissioner Goldblum, would you?
Sorry, I missed the earlier conversations, but I agree with what Stephen said, which I assume was what Frank said as well. Yeah, put the text on to either side. You know, put Karen Purse on left, Stone on the right, whatever works. Just get it off of the thing that you're spending so much money to recreate.
Thank you. I think that we can probably approve this with some modifications to the signage, perhaps to expose the pier, working with staff. Is that good?
Okay. With regards to LPC 25-09203, 284 Fifth Avenue, the Rick Bram individual landmark, a Romanesque revival style apartment hotel building designed by D&L Jardine and built in 1888-90 Application is to legalize the replacement of display windows without Landmark Preservation Commission permits, modify display windows, replace infill cladding, and install an interior display structure and signage. Oops, okay. I recommend approval with modifications, finding the butt glazing has minimal joints and is commonly seen at large storefront display windows and therefore does not call undue attention to itself. That the proposed black painted profiled wood bulkhead will be compatible with the historic display window framing at this facade and will be in keeping with bulkheads commonly found at storefronts at buildings of this type and style. That the black finish applied film at the transom windows is reversible in nature and will maintain the exterior appearance and character of the historic storefront infill. That the proposed non-illuminated interior display structure will be limited to 2 storefront bays at the West 30th Street facade and will maintain a moderate degree of transparency at the display windows. That the proposed unframed doors at Fifth Avenue facade will replace modern doors and will harmonize with the contemporary design of the existing infill of the facade. That the removal of the existing non-historic cladding on the Fifth Avenue facade and installation of a glass fiber reinforced concrete GFRC pier with painted finish matching the design and surface texture of the existing historic cast iron pier at the 30th Street facade will bring the facade closer to the historic appearance. That the proposed signage will be well scaled to the building base and will not excessive and will not replace the disproportionately bulky sign boxes. That the channel-mounted signage at the transom featuring illuminated and non-illuminated acrylic lettering will not substantially black the transom windows to be uncovered and will not overwhelm the storefront. The installation of the proposed bracket signs at the transom channel will not call undue attention to themselves and will not damage any historic fabric. And that the proposed work will improve the relationship of the existing storefront infill to the architecture features of the building. However, I find that the signage located in front of the center piers on both facades blocks views of the historic center pier, and working with staff should be slid either to the right or to the left so they are over the storefront and do not block the center pier.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen, would you second that motion?
Second.
Mark, can you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Ikwembe,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mahan.
Aye.
With 8 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
Okay, that's approved. Thank you. Now we're going to move to our public hearing agenda.
We'll start with public hearing item number 1, LPC 26-01231, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Queens, Block 3507, Lot 29, 5939 70th Avenue in the Central Ridgewood Historic District. This is a Renaissance Revival style 2-family house designed by Lewis Berger and Company and built circa 1909. The application is to legalize and modify the installation of windows and HVAC equipment and legalize recladding and altering the rear extension without LPC permits.
Turn it on. That helps. My name is Peter Fox. I'm an architect. I'm working with the owner to try and get modifications legalized. I was not involved in the work when it was done. And he's asked me just to bring this forward. So we had 3 violations from landmarks, window replacement without at the basement level and first floor without a landmark approval. A couple of HVAC units installed on the, I guess I should go Okay, so that's the building in the Central Ridgewood Historic District, located on the lower left. 1940 tax photo. You see the windows are dark, double hung windows. And this is the, what we're proposing. Work that was done was windows were replaced with, on the basement and first floor with triple glazed, low E, 45 decibel noise reduction PVC tilt turn casement windows instead of double hung, and that's what threw the violation. There was also Landmarks also suggested that it should match the white windows that were there. According to the 2014 designation report, the white windows are already not, those are already replacement windows compared to the 1940 windows. And so the dark windows are actually appropriate, apparently original. Go back up to here just for a second. I guess I can't do that. HVAC units were installed on the side on 60th Street, and there were here. So this is the work that was done without the permit. See the new windows at basement and first floor. HVAC units installed along the side over the course of a couple of years. And new siding and windows on the rear extension. We're proposing, in this case, adding a window muntin, an applied PVC window muntin, and a privacy screen to cover the HVAC units. There's existing conditions at the entry. The owner is very careful about maintaining the ironwork and the door. The view of the corner. I'm mistaken in saying that those the grills at the basement level are original. I don't see that on the 2014 designation report. Detailed view. He's been very careful to maintain the iron fencing. So this is a view of the side. You can see the HVAC units. Detail those. First one was installed in 2016, the second one in 2017, and the basement windows were done in 2017 too. 2020, the first floor windows, I believe those are the triple glazed ones, or at least, I don't know if they're all triple glazed, but those were done along with the siding. The proposal for how we wanted to deal with the HVAC units is to put a privacy screen, applied muntins, view of existing HVAC, and the work that was done on the extension. I looked around the neighborhood for any other similar extension on the back of any of the buildings. The only one is the directly opposite on 69th Avenue facing this one. We'll get to that a little bit later on. When he did did vinyl siding to remove the aluminum siding, closed two of the windows on the back at the top, and cleaned up the garage and repainted it. See that in the detail. Again, rendering of what was done and what we're proposing as the remedy. The original wood window on the 69th Avenue facing building. Details of the windows that were installed. Proposed applied muntins. I have samples here if anybody's curious to see. It's a manufactured self-adhesive made for this purpose. The window guy said this was worth 50 years, the glue. I don't know what value that promise has, but matching the window. Examples of dark windows in the neighborhood that are replacement windows. An example of apparently a landmark approved, at least a temporarily approved, applied Muntin. That's on the next block. This is, across the street from the building in question is this restaurant, and this was what provoked him to go with the triple glazed window in the first place. Apparently during COVID, they built out onto the sidewalk and put their hours till late. The proposed solution for the covering the HVAC unit, this would end up on top. There's a curb along the side of the building. The top of this would be at 5'8", which should be above eye height and coincide also with the rail, with the water table rail. You know, the back vinyl siding that was done. And the extension is not, I don't know that the extension is original beyond, I wasn't able to find any other examples of an extension on the back, again, except the one opposite. Let's see that. And here it is, you see this is from up the street. You see vinyl siding on that. And in the 2014 report, that vinyl siding is already extant. One of looking at that, the window pattern is 4 windows, and the 2014 report has, can't really zoom in, but it describes those windows as historic. They're multi-pane panels, at least in the top part. And then comparison of the vinyl siding sizes. The new vinyl siding that was applied is on the right-hand side, and the center one belongs to the building opposite. So they're actually larger panels, but smaller vertical face. Comparison of what the vinyl siding replacing the aluminum siding, and I'd say right off, the vinyl siding that he did install is a little bit nicer looking than the aluminum siding, and is also, the grain of it corresponds closer to the brick. The aluminum siding, I'm guessing by color, is probably late 60s, not original. Those windows are not described as original, not described as historic in the 2014 report. They don't match the ones that are described as historic windows, building opposite. And so, the proposal for this is to leave it as it is. Clearly, to my eye, aesthetically pleasing, more appropriate for the building than raggedy looking aluminum siding. There's a suggestion that the eyebrow above the windows should be replaced in some way. Without any historic record of what was there, it seems, I don't know that bumpier is better to my eye. And the only other example of this kind of addition is the building opposite. There are a block or two away some center of the block porches that have that general shape, but they're open porches. And maybe that's what this was, enclosed. I guess that's it.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Ginsburg?
So I have a few questions. First of all, why was work done without a permit?
That I was not part of it.
Okay, well, that just for future, whoever, if the owner was part of it, the owner should be here explaining that. Or they should have at least told you, because that is unfortunate. Was it filed with the building department?
It was filed. Or
And-
there was interior work that corresponded, to this in time. That was filed. Some have been approved, and the last piece is hung up on not having landmarks.
Which, as it should be.
Yes. and
Okay,
no
then,
argument with that.
then my other question is, are you well, I have two more questions. Proposing to paint the upper windows the dark color to match the lower? And will these applied buttons be both on the interior and exterior of the windows? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Jefferson?
Is the mechanical unit attached to the building, or are they on the slab on the ground plane?
I'm sorry, I'm like, I can't hear you.
Are the air
He asked if
conditioners
the
on
mechanical
floor
units are
or
attached to the
Side
building.
building.
Wall.
Yes.
Slab.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner
And
Goldblum?
to follow up on that, does this building have a backyard
Building does have a backyard.
behind that wall?
Yeah.
Behind the wall, there's a space there?
There is a space, there is a staircase coming down, and there is a window. It's a narrow enough yard. We had looked at that as, where they would even go.
Could they go there?
The owner was complaining about the expense of replumbing the whole thing, and we were looking.
Let's
for a
set that
solution.
apart for the moment. Could they physically, technically go there?
Not in a very simple way. There's not a chunk of wall where they can just go. It would involve, I was not aware of
They can go on the ground.
Are you saying they could go on the ground?
I am saying that.
Yes, they presumably could go on the ground. Again, the
Super.
owner is proposing that he doesn't.
I hear you. Understood.
Okay.
Great. Thank
All
you.
right, I'm just.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, let's see if we have any public testimony.
See anyone in the room? Anyone who would like to testify, please use the raised hand function on Zoom. You'll have 3 minutes to testify. Please state your name for the record after I elevate you to panelist. First, we have Christina Conroy.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Christina Conroy for the Victorian Society, New York. Now, founded in New York City in 1966, the Victorian Society in America is dedicated to fostering the appreciation and preservation of our 19th and early 20th century heritage. The New York chapter promotes preservation of our historic districts, individual and scenic landmarks, interiors, and civic art. The Victorian Society strongly recommends denial of all the work done without permits. Each of the changes has destroyed historic material or introduced modern replacements which diminish the unity of this house, the block, and the historic district. They are also extremely visible because the house is so close to the sidewalk. This is the kind of work designation is supposed to prevent. The rules call for replacement windows to match the original 1/1 windows in terms of, quote, configuration, operation, materials, details, and finish. The tilt and turn windows installed without permits do not conform to even one of these requirements. The applicant's proposal to attach a bar, suggesting a meeting rail, would actually make this worse. When the windows are tilted open, the meeting rail would move away from the frame in a manner never seen on any double-hung window in history. The fact that the building has its 1/1 double-hung windows on the second floor makes the change especially disturbing. Now, on board 24, the applicant supplied a photo of one house with similar windows, but since they didn't provide the address, there's no way to know if the house is in the district or if the windows are legal. The window replacement must be denied. The installation of HVAC units has concealed historic masonry and required drilling multiple holes in the brick. The proposed wood fence, too tight against the historic iron, is an inappropriate Band-Aid. These HVAC units and the fence must also be denied. Now, finally, the vinyl siding is not a suitable replacement on the rear extension on a historic building which is so visible and close to the street. It doesn't have the appearance, texture, or detailing of any materials available when 39-59 was built, and this must also be denied. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Kaylee Johnson. I promoted you to panelist.
Hello, Commissioners. This is Kaylee Johnson speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HGC finds the self-adhesive PVC muttons to be an inappropriate method of creating the illusion of double-hung windows. We also object to the vinyl siding cladding on the rear extension. It should be returned to a more historically appropriate material. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else who would like to speak, please use the raise hand function. I'm not seeing any additional hands raised. I will note that Queens CB5 waived review.
Thank you, Michelle. Would the applicant like to address any of these comments?
Sure. Starting with the lighting. I don't know, without an example of what would have been there, since we don't have that, vinyl siding is on the building opposite. Certainly aluminum siding was not available in 1909. At that point, I don't know how, what do we choose? Because there's nothing else in the district that I was able to find. I included in the appendix, the beginning of the Google satellite view. Go through here. Additional views down the street that so I included this Google satellite view. You can identify the building there, the red dot. There, and then I began to fly around the neighborhood. I drove around the neighborhood and then I flew around the neighborhood on Google and was, these are the two buildings, the 5939 70th Avenue, and I believe it's 5940 is the correct address, 69th Avenue behind it. Those are the buildings that have it. You can see in the middle of the next block, there are some porches, but those, they're open porches. And so I don't know, again, if these were enclosed open porches, one owner did it and the other followed suit. If they're original in any way to the building, according to the summary for the designation report, this neighborhood was done in brick says most of the housing district were built in 1905 when fire codes requiring masonry construction for attached rows were extended into Ridgewood. I don't know how wood extensions fit into fire code requiring brick for, an attached row. So again, the siding, without a historic precedent available in the neighborhood, the vinyl is at least appropriate in scale, grain, texture to the building itself. It's closer to the brick dimension and looks better. The aluminum siding looks like a 1970-ish kind of slapdash job. The windows, again, were put in, at least the second, the upper level windows were done in go back to at least the rendering. Upper level windows were done in response to noise from across the street. That's an ongoing concern. They're triple glazed. They're highly energy efficient. The original windows, even on the upper story, are replacement windows according to the 2014 designation report. So we're only replacing, he replaced replacement windows with more energy efficient, quieter windows. He should have done double hung, presumably. He didn't do that.
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any final questions, commissioners? Okay, let's make a motion to close the hearing. Commissioner Mayen, can you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen, can you second that? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Corey, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I'll just add a little bit of background information for maybe each of the sort of three aspects of this proposal. With regard to the replacement windows, as the applicant stated, there were no historic windows removed. They were already replacement windows, so there was no loss of historic windows or material in that case. However, the commission has not previously approved full height tilt and turn windows as a new installation at a row house. Previously. The example that was shown in the presentation was a building in this historic district. However, that also was an application to legalize windows installed without a permit. And that came with the condition that a brick mold, the mullion be installed, and that they be in place for no longer than 10 years before being replaced again to be windows that could meet the rules. So the aspects of the windows that don't meet the staff rules are both the full height tilt and turn operation and also the material. These are vinyl over steel frames. The commission rules also do not allow for vinyl on windows on primary facades. And I think the finish was some sort of faux wood finish, which also wouldn't be something we would say meets a painted finish similar to a historic wood window. I think most of you know that the commission rules do allow for high performance windows. However, those are the simulated double hung that have the inset lower sash that operate with the fixed upper sash. So they look a lot more like a double hung window. And so that's the difference between what the staff can approve and what these are, which is just full height, all in the same plane, all operating as one panel. With regard to the HVAC equipment, the staff rules do not allow for attachment of wall-mounted units to a primary facade. That's why you're looking at this today. However, I will just note that there are certain things like garbage enclosures that could very well be approved at staff level in a position just like this that would have a similar look to what the applicant is proposing in a similar scale. With regard to the rear addition, again, the staff level rules do not allow vinyl siding on a street fronting facade. And for that matter, with regard to rear yard additions, the staff level rules also exclude certain materials such as vinyl siding, ephes, and CMU block on garden facing facades. So there really is not an allowance for vinyl at staff level in a position like this. However, the staff level rules would allow for clearly wood clapboards, but also fiber cement siding painted if there were fire code issues that needed to be met. So we're looking at the rear extension because of the material change from the aluminum siding to vinyl, also the reduction of what could have been the original window pattern, pulling in windows from the corner on the back, and the removal of those sort of unusual built-in awnings above the openings. However, we do not know what they look like. Originally, they were covered with the metal siding. And as the applicant stated, there really are only two rear extensions just like this on the end buildings in this district, both of which were altered prior to designation.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. Just to point out the obvious, the reason why the applicant should be doing this in terms of the process and having landmarks review their proposals is so they don't incur undue costs or unnecessary costs to themselves and time, as well as the time of the commission to try to resolve an issue that has already been built. In terms of the proposal at hand and the proposal for revision to work that was not legally performed here. I'm just going to go through the items one by one. The window replacement, I think for the reasons even stated already in terms of non-compliance with material, profile, or functionality, I do not find appropriate. I feel that what has been done to this house has actually made conditions worse, and I think that any renovation should be improving the landmark status and celebrating the historic building in place. I don't like the idea of adding those mullions. I don't think that's an appropriate way to revise what was done incorrectly, or painting the mullions above to match. I think the whole strategy is not appropriate. In terms of the HVAC units, my problem is the fact that they wall bracketed and bolted them to the facade, which would not have found the right solution to this. A floor mount may have been possible. As pointed out, there were potentially other locations on the lot that could have been a home for these units. If they had come in the application and proposed, I think we would have explored that, which would have brought them off the facade on the corner lot here. And the new siding on the extension, I also think is inappropriate. A painted wood or cement board option would have been more appropriate to this historic house addition. The application of the material on the facade, as well as the treatment of the jambs, the sills, the head, the windows themselves, it feels very motley in terms of approach, and didn't really take an overall holistic look at the entire proposal here. So unfortunately, I think I need to say this is inappropriate, and the applicant should do the revisions stated, replace the windows properly, replace the vinyl, as well as find a new approach to the HVC mounting.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe?
I think a lot was previously said, and I'm in agreement with all that was said. I think, as was stated, this is a prime case in noting that to follow the procedure would actually work best.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
So I agree with Commissioner Chu. I would add that when people do things illegally and they don't come in and explain what happened or why and ask for forgiveness, it makes it harder. Not that that in one sense should affect us. I have no idea, did people know they were in a landmark district? I know they filed at the building department, and there is a continuing issue that the building department sometimes misses landmarks. As to then the specifics of the windows, for both energy efficiency and aesthetics, one could do triple glazed, a wood window, potentially aluminum clad, with a fixed top and the bottom as a awning, to look like the original windows without losing any acoustic and energy efficiency. The vinyl siding is inappropriate. And with the mechanical units, I would say if you can show to staff that it is impossible to relocate them, then I'd accept the enclosure, but otherwise they should be relocated to the rear yard.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Looks like the commission is in agreement. I think all three items, the rear vinyl siding, and as well as the windows, as well as the enclosure. I think Commissioner made a good suggestion about show us, the practicality, and then see if the enclosure could be accepted.
Thank you. Commissioner Mayan?
This is a pretty unfortunate situation and unfortunate use of resources, both time and money. no argument for appropriateness was put forward in the presentation, rather arguments for slight improvements on prior mistakes. And I'm afraid, that is not the criteria by which landmarks, can find this appropriate. I cannot support the windows. This overall and all three items seems quite straightforward, actually. The windows do not meet the criteria for operability, configuration, material, or finish. The HVAC, does not meet the staff rules. I understand enclosures, can exist for things like refuse. That has a different kind of character than this. And the rear yard extension, just very clearly does not meet the criteria. So I actually think this is very, very straightforward. And the only reason the commission is seen at a public hearing is because it's already been done. So I cannot support any of these items.
So Commissioner, I just want to make sure we're all just clear. Everything that Commissioner Mann just said is true regarding the staff. What the staff can do, they're coming here, of course, because like anything else, the staff rules allow the staff to do something. Anyone can come here and ask you to do it. And that's who we should focus on, why we think their proposal, notwithstanding it doesn't meet staff rules, is otherwise appropriate or inappropriate.
On that note,
Commissioner Goldblum?
I can try to address that and maybe that'll help. Ridgewood District is a very uniform district. It's remarkably intact, remarkably unchanged relative to many other districts in New York City. So uniformity, consistency is essential to how I, anyway, view proposals in that district. And the use of a single light window is something that the commission, irrespective of the staff, rarely approves unless there's some unusual circumstance to mitigate it, especially when the block is so remarkably uniform and the district is so remarkably uniform. So the acoustical benefits of the triple glazed window, I always thought that acoustical windows were not triple glazed, but were laminated. And it was the lamination that took away the vibrations, and the triple glazing was really for a thermal, but whatever, that's your acoustician's problem. The use of either a double hung or a simulated double hung where the two panes of the glass are on different planes is a commonly approved system that commission has approved in numerous instances. I do not recall a case when they've been approved in vinyl. Or PVC. My recollection is that they're usually metal-clad wood at the commission level. And again, that goes to one of the reasons why commission, anyway, I have always viewed one of our mandates is not only the aesthetics of the buildings, what they look like, but also the materiality. And in a landmark district, I think we should be approving materials that are sturdy and have a high quality commensurate with the buildings themselves. And the use of PVCs, which over time have been shown to check and fade and crack due to UV, has not been established for me anyway as a material that should be approved in landmark districts unless there are extreme circumstances. And that is exactly why I think the vinyl siding is not appropriate. It is the poster child for a cheap, crappy material. And not to mention that when it burns, it kills people. So I don't think that it's an appropriate material to be used in a historic district. It doesn't look like wood unless you're like a block and a half away. It looks like vinyl siding. That's why the suggestions that Stephen made of wood or cement board without a texture, because most wood, unless it's Wyoming lodge, doesn't have a texture. And it's smooth and painted. You know, that's what we approve with a traditional casing. You know, I mean, the people try to make shortcuts. It's been said This could have been, this whole thing is going to cost the guy double what he would have paid had he done it originally. The machines should have been in the backyard.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
I don't have much more to add.
Okay. Thank you. Corey, do you want to?
Yeah, I think just in kind of feeling out the next steps here, I just wanted to go back to the rear extension, putting aside the siding material. There was the change in the number of windows, which is, visible on a facade. And so that's something that requires commission review, as well as the removal of those sort of modest features above them. So if we were to take no action today, the applicant could presumably address many of the things that you all said you were not comfortable with, but perhaps still come in proposing to keep certain aspects like the changes to the window configurations. But I think if what we're hearing is those changes as well, you feel are not appropriate, then I think that's more of a situation where we may deny the application.
People could opine on that question.
Yes, Stephen, do you want to start? And just the rear window in the back, how they, I guess they took out some of the windows. I don't think they were historic.
Right. So at that top floor that you're seeing in the back of the extension, there were additional windows, one on either side of the three. And there were also sort of very small, seemingly built-in covers over them. We'll show the slide. So
There's no record of the historic condition.
there's no tax photo or other historic
designation.
photo that we found. At designation, what you see on the left is what. the
Oh, I
condition
see. It was a longer
So
row.
you can see there's fewer windows up at the top, and also those little coverings over the windows were removed. So, even if they were to put in wood siding, this removal of those elements requires the commissioners to opine on.
Personally, I prefer the original condition before this revision. However, in the past, we have allowed for approval of revisions of this type of addition. So I could find the window placement or the window configuration appropriate alone.
The only thing I would add to that is that the applicant should work with staff on the casing and trimming out of that window. And all the windows in
Of all
the
of
wood
it.
siding area.
Correct.
Okay.
The
Thank-
details of the jambs, the sill and the head.
Okay.
And the meeting rails between the windows as
Okay.
well.
Does everybody agree with that? Okay.
I think that means we can take no action today, and the applicant will work with staff and come back with revisions that address all of your concerns. And I think coming back looking to keep the configuration with these improvements that you've suggested. So no action for today.
Okay. Thanks.
So
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to the next item. That is public hearing item number 2, LPC 25-12470. An application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn, Block 5038, Lot 6, 118 Rutland Road in the Crown Heights North Historic District. This is a neo-Renaissance style townhouse designed by Benjamin Dreisler and built in 1911. The application is to legalize the removal of historic ironwork and replacement of bluestone curbing in non-compliance with permit for minor work 19-21914.
Good morning. Thank you. I do want to make one correction, which is it's in the Prospect Lefferts Gardens. So that was
Thank
a
you for that.
typo.
I neglected to mention that. Absolutely correct. I'll say that again. Prospect Leopards Garden Historic District, inadvertently advertised as Crown Heights North.
Okay, so, good morning. My name is Patricia Kelly. This is Jim Hemmerly. And we have worked on this project I'll give you some history of the project. The owners purchased the house in 2014, about 11 years ago. We then we worked on a design and planned renovations and made applications, receiving landmarks approval for a large scale renovations in late 2016, maybe got the permit in 2017. There were some financing issues, so the work was postponed. And on January 23rd, 2017, during a high-speed car chase, a car jumped the curb and drove into the entrance on 118 on Rutland Road. He's jumping. I'm just trying to give an overview of the entire thing. And then a separate application was made to repair the damage done then. Again, we were still hoping that the larger renovation would happen, but in 2018, approval was given to do this work independently, repairing damage to the front facade on Rutland Road. And these photos don't quite show, but columns were knocked askew, cheek walls knocked down, and quite a bit of damage done to the front. So fast forward to 2021 and the entire project is done. So now we're going to go back. This is what the house looks like now, with the front porch repaired, and lots of other work was done, air conditioning on the roof, new windows, new porch ceilings, new doors along Bedford Avenue. There's a new doors. There's a bay window in the back, and fences restored. During this application, though, is during the work that was done to repair the front porch, a low fence was removed. And there it is before. This is an early photo from my first survey, probably 10 years ago. That is the fencing that was removed during that renovation to do some repair work to the curb. The owners would like to legalize the removal. That's why we're here today. And for a couple of reasons. It doesn't match the fencing there's some damage to it. It doesn't match and these are the original drawings. I'm sorry, not these. These are original drawings we found, Benjamin Drexler, that do not show fencing on that curb. And that's the Bedford Avenue facade. And those are the doors. We actually replicated the doors that were in the original drawings. This is along Rutland Road. There were 5 houses built at the same time, the corner house being the tallest, and then 4 more that, dance down Rutland Road. So this is the 2 fences. Top is the lower fence that was on the curb, and then this is the rear tall fence that frames the yard, which is about 5'8". The lower fence, the whole construction of the lower fencing is 1.2 off. And it's made differently, as you can see. It doesn't have a spiked top, and the flat top would encourage people to, the flat top encouraged people to congregate and throw a lot of trash in their gardens. The fences don't intersect each other, and they were clearly built at different times. So it is, however, it does show up in the tax photo. There it is. So it is visible in the tax photo. At some point it had been installed. You want to talk about?
Well, in looking at this, you'll note that the building was built in 1911, and this photo was taken in the 40s sometime. So we're not really sure when the fence appeared. It wasn't on the original drawings, as Patty mentioned. Going forward, the basic argument, I guess, we have is that so much of the restoration that was involved in this project has been done. The only thing we've unfortunately lost is this low fence. At the time, because of the financing situation, the owners didn't have the money to do the work, so they were working with what they got from the insurance company. And that's the work that was done, with the hope that this would all be taken care of when the big renovation took place.
Well, they would like to legalize the removal.
Right.
And the fencing was removed 7 years.
Yeah, it's been this way for a very long time. This is the historic district, and we're calling out 118 Rutland Road, so you see where it's located. The 4 areas that are in the pale blue color are areas that we surveyed to see what there is in the district that's consistent with this situation as far as the fencing and the treatment of the front yards. So we've determined in our survey that there are a number of different types, and this is a summary of what we found. Now, there are 327 properties that we looked at, and in that number, the fence on curb, which is what had been there, is less than a third of the properties. And then there's other variations. There are walls, there's curb with no fence, there's no curb, no fence. Unlike the Ridgewood district, this is not very consistent, at least in regards to the front area, front properties. Here are some photos. This is the first type we were looking at. This is within the district, within that 2-block area that we looked at. Here's the curb with no fence. There are quite a few of those. Here are the walls. This upper image here happens to be the 4 other properties that are adjacent to our property by the same architect, and they don't have any fencing except for gates. Here is type D. It's a fence without a curb, which also occurs in different kinds of configurations throughout the district. This is the fence on the curb, which is our situation. What I should point out is, in addition to looking at this sort of generic type fence on curb, the number of those that are actually a historic fence on a curb is dramatically less. There are only about 4% in the ones that we looked at that fall into that category. As you can see, particularly in the lower photograph, all of those fences on curbs are different. None of them are original. All have changed over time. Oops, I guess we're there. So that is the presentation. We did, in our survey, we also looked specifically at corner properties, and it's a similar situation. There's very little consistency.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Jefferson and then Commissioner Ginsburg.
So if I was walking around the corner of your building, would I feel, I do the 90-degree turn, would I feel that there's something incomplete, that the building is missing a part of a fence? Or would I feel that it's just a kind of a natural idea that this fence is not there? Oh,
There it is. There it is. Sorry.
so when I walk to the end, further to the back, when I walk down the block, and then there's no fence, but I feel that it's incomplete. The building itself, that particular building is incomplete.
I would argue that that's not the case, because there's so many different situations in the district where there is no fence. Which one? That one.
The yard fence is the one that's further down.
It's further down, yeah.
You see it in
Where the
back.
trees or bushes are.
Do you want to go to the next? It also sits proud of the,
There you see it
Okay.
close up,
so it has,
looking the other way.
it has always returned. In other words, those fences never met.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg.
So just a few things to understand. The fence was not replaced because they ran out of money from the insurance funding.
Original fence.
Did they keep the original fence?
It has disappeared. We don't know what happened to it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, let's see if there's anybody in the room who would like to speak on this item. Noting that there isn't, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Craven to see if we have any remote testimony.
Okay, anyone on Zoom who would like to testify, please use the raise hand function. I'll elevate you to panelist. Please state your name for the record and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone who would like to testify, please use the raise hand function. Seeing no hands raised, I'll note that Brooklyn CB9 recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any final questions? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Chu, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Kumbe, can you second that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Chen, would you like to start this discussion?
First, I have to commend the applicant representative for a thorough survey. And I think you made a very convincing case. I think that it's clear that this is something that is not usual in the majority sense of the word. And that I think that given what has happened, the accident, and then the subsequent restoration, I think I can find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Mayan?
Yeah, the survey was impressive. I found the survey in particular of other properties in the immediately surrounding area persuasive. Even where there are historic fences atop a curb, it's really a quite different condition than this with a much taller, more decorative curb, if you could even call it that. It's approaching a small knee wall, I would say, given the relationship to the rear of this building, that it doesn't touch the other extant fence, and the relationship to the other townhouses in the row, that it doesn't negatively affect that. I can find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum? Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
When I saw this last night, I said, right, no fence, looks good, right, fantastic. Then I went back and said, wait a minute. The original building is 1910. Historic photo, 1940, 80 years, there's been a fence there, 80 years. It looks good without the fence. And then I'm reading the comments from the staff, and they keep the fence in the back. And then I said, well, why a fence at all? And then I started to get into one of these thinking modes, and what do they all mean and all of that. I can agree, keep it, don't put the fence in.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners. I do think that the fact that that corner setback has been reserved and is planted, it helps this case, because otherwise it does feel a little low on the corner. But I think in considering this specific circumstance, and also the entry, which is up a stair on the side, also a frontage street, it really does break up that facade enough that the lack of continuation of the fence is not so disturbing.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe?
I also find it appropriate, based off of the findings from the survey and the mix of types that are used in the district. I believe it's fine. Also, I would say that the manicure lawn actually helps the case as well. And it also shows the importance of what landscaping can actually do.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just need to, just for the record, that we don't regulate the plantings, just so I know it may make an effect in this case, but there's no requirement that that's kept.
Understood.
Thanks. Commissioner Ginsburg?
Agree with fellow commissioners, appropriate.
Great. Commissioner Chu, would you mind reading the motion?
Oh, she meant you.
in the matter of LPC 25-12470, 118 Rutland Road, Crown Heights, North Historic District. The application is to legalize the removal of historic ironwork and replacement of bluestone curbing in non-compliance with permit for minor work 19-21914. Holding the building's style, scale, materials, and details among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Crown Heights North Historic District. Further noting that the ironwork was removed without LPC permit after a section was damaged by a car accident, and that the ironwork appears from the circa 1940 tax photo, but not on the original architectural drawings for the house. I recommend approval, finding that the front area way ironwork, some of which was destroyed by a car accident, is not typical of house in this role or in the streetscape, and that the removal of the remaining ironwork has not diminished the relationship of the house to others in the row, that the similar historic ironwork fencing remains at the rear of the property, representing the decorative motifs of the ironwork that was removed, and that the lack of ironwork fencing at the front and portions of the side facade does not detract from the special architectural or historic character of the building.
Thank you. And Commissioner Mayan, can you second that?
Second.
Thanks. And John, can you please call the vote?
Yes. Chair Master, Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen.
Aye.
Commissioner Chu.
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg.
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum. Commissioner Ikwembe.
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mayan.
Aye.
8 in favor, 9 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. And that's approved. Let's move to our next item.
Next item is public hearing item number 3, LPC 26-01458, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn, Block 5181, Lot 74, 465 East 17th Street in the Ditmas Park Historic District. This is a colonial revival style house designed by Arlington D. Isham and built in 1901. The application is to construct a front porch and portico.
This is a single-family wood frame house in the Ditmas Park Historic
Please
District.
state your name for the record.
Oh, sorry, Richard Boshin. And I'm the architect. So it's a single frame house, like most of the ones, all of the ones that I know of. It was built with a front porch and a roof porch that disappeared in 1933. The picture in the lower left is months before that, from the Brooklyn Eagle. The one in the middle is the tax lot photo from the 40s, and the one on the right is the current condition. In 1933, the roof was taken off, my guess is because it was rotting, and the porch was replaced with a brick and masonry terrace. What the owners want to do is put the porch back on, and the original idea was to put a roof on it, not exactly identical to the historic one, but similar. That wouldn't pass the building department. There's a memo from 2003 that requires that terraces and porches not be used. It specifically says unused. So what we could do was propose a balcony, which these are that's the existing condition on the top, and the existing condition also on the 3 photos in the bottom. So just give a little more context. As you'll see, the houses next door and most of the rest on the block all have front porches. This is on the left is the existing condition, on the right is the proposal. And the reason, the house, first of all, was very symmetrical, and became more symmetrical actually after the 1933 renovation. So we wanted to continue that, with the new proposal, it had to be presented to the building department as a balcony. And the balcony is restricted by building department, no zoning actually, to being 50% of the size of the front facade. So that determined the size. That is exactly 50%, which in our case luckily worked out because the owners wanted the porch to be not only to look like a balcony, but to be accessible as well. That let us take the existing windows in the bays and turn those into doors without changing the size of the openings, except probably for the 10 into doors. And that just barely worked. So that's our proposal is to, and as far as the porch goes, we're recreating the footprint of the original porch, which the existing brick terrace has the same footprint. We're keeping that and we're turning it back into a wooden porch with piers and trellises underneath. So in that sense, it's much more like the original. And the main difference is the balcony and the doors. And it's going the wrong direction here. This is just a closer view that talks about some of the materials. The intention is to retain as many of the materials as possible. And when we're doing the door for the converting the windows into doors, we're keeping all of the existing exterior trim and putting a door in from the inside and retaining the same material. Obviously, you can't do that on the lower part of the grill. This is the same from the side view. And like the original roof porch, the balcony extends out as far as the terrace underneath. On the other side. And these are details of the door that would replace the window. Again, on the left is the existing, on the right is proposed in all of these cases. We also did a survey of the houses that had similar sorts of balconies on the second floor. The top two rows are in Ditmas Park itself. The bottom two rows are in Prospect Park South, which is kind of set the model for all of these historic districts that are in the neighborhood south of Prospect Park. And I was actually surprised at the number that we found. The one on the upper left is right across the street. And not all of these are accessible. Not all of them, some of them are basically purely decorative. And there are lots of different kinds. To me, there's a lot of variety going on, which is one of the design motifs of these districts. They took plans that were often very similar and used elements, sometimes turrets, sometimes bays, lots of other things, to try and make each house individual. And that's part of what we're doing here. These are copies of the drawings from 1933. We found those, which is nice. These were approved months after that historic photograph from 1932. And as you'll see, there's the dashed lines here just goes through the changes that were made in 1933. This was all filed with the building department and approved. Amongst other things, it made the house even more symmetrical than it had been before. I love finding these old drawings. It's great. This one shows on the right, on the lower right, there was an original bay. They mirrored that on the left-hand side. They moved the entrance. The door had been slightly off-center. and move it into the middle, which frankly creates problems inside, but that's the way it is. So the good news here is that we know when the changes were made, and we know that they were approved and how they were made. The bad news is that getting a porch, getting a roof, I don't know, this was something the building department wasn't interested in. We actually, give a little background there, we appealed that above the plan examiner level to the assistant chief, who denied it. So, we tried. And actually, John wrote a letter of support to the building department, asking them if there was any way they could see their way clear to putting a roof on this. But of course, you can't ask them not to do their job. Is that fair to where I put it?
Thank you. Yeah. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Goldblum?
So the original house, as it's currently configured, has 6 columns. And you're proposing to use 4 of them?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to literally reuse the columns that are there. For one thing,
These are gonna be new.
yeah, they're gonna be new.
Okay. And the DOB regulation that you're referring to has to do with the fact that this would be intruding into the front yard?
Not the one I referred to, that did come up, and it spends about 6 feet into the required front yard, and we found some stuff in the zoning code that allows that. So that part has been settled.
What was the regulation that any porch anywhere on any house cannot be covered?
That's correct. Which,
Really?
yeah, which I bumped into this before in the Ditmas Park Historic District, and one time I got it approved, but I had it to appeal it to the commissioner level.
Porches can't be covered in New York City, period.
There is a memo that says that, I can give you the name and all of that.
How's that?
And the staff has a copy of it, and it is interpreted to mean that roof porches are not allowed. And it surprises me too, and I was actually.
All right. Whatever. Thank you.
Right.
Is the profile of the new porch intended to match the profile of the existing porch? The floor on which the second floor terrace exists?
You're talking about the first floor level?
Right. The new white frieze that goes over your new columns, that's going to match the profile of what's there before? Or is something new?
It's new. We don't know what was there before 1933.
Right.
And what's there now isn't worth repeating.
Got it.
Replicating.
Okay, thanks.
I
Great.
guess
Commissioner Chu?
the only thing you have is record of the renovation shortly after the build, where it shows this building development.
The 1933 work?
And you showed a photo that post the original build, they immediately did a renovation to the facade.
Yes.
And you had a photo of that.
Yeah, that's a photo we found in the Brooklyn Eagle.
Right.
We got lucky.
But it does show a profile that
Right.
that looks like is what you're emulating in the
That's right.
proposal.
We're looking for the spirit of that.
Right,
We're
okay.
not trying to replicate it because we just don't have the information.
And you said that you were limited to 50% of,
The width of the balcony on the second floor is limited to 50% of the width of the second floor of the house.
50%. Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay. No, is there anybody in the room that would like to speak on this item? Noting that there isn't, let me turn it over to Michelle Craven for remote testimony.
Anyone in Zoom who would like to testify, please use the raise hand function. I'll elevate you to panelist. Please unmute yourself and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. First, we have Kaylee Johnson. I've promoted you to panelist.
Hello, Commissioners. Kaylee Johnson speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC finds alterations to the porch to be appropriate given that the porch has already been altered. We do, however, object to the horizontal widening of the balcony and portico as it encroaches upon the bays. We believe that disrupting the bays will reduce their legibility and is therefore inappropriate. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to testify, please use the raise hand function. Being no additional raised hands, just note that Brooklyn Community Board 17 waived review.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to that comment?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised actually because my original and the owner's original intention was to build something bigger, not smaller. And when we were limited to 50%, our instinct was to, first of all, make it symmetrical and center it, given this facade, and make it as large as we could to be more like the original roof, which covered the entire porch. So I guess I would disagree.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, any final questions? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Chen, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Corey?
Yeah, just a couple of notes. So as advertised, the commissioners are reviewing the modification and essentially replacement of the porch / portico itself, but also the lowering of 2 of the windows to become doors to access the roof of that portico. And as the applicant showed, there are examples in this historic district and other nearby sort of freestanding house districts, a wide variety of sort of porches, both as originally designed and as altered over the years, some of which do allow access up to that 2nd level. And I also will note that the commission has over the years approved sort of hybrid porch variations where in most cases the original porch had already been replaced or closed in or something happened and the applicant came in looking for something that wasn't restoring the original condition but was asking for something that often borrowed from original aspects of the design or its later iterations.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. Just looking at the building in general, just noticing that there's been a series of transformations to the building over time. And just noting that there are, I guess there's just a series of different types of changes, which actually just change the character of the building altogether. Especially with the roof replacement, they changed where the dormers are. They added an additional bay on a lower level. There was a larger porch, a covered porch. So I guess maintaining the style, whatever we can say it is now, is whatever question that is. Looking what's proposed based off of what's existing, I actually prefer the existing. The proposed, I don't know, there's something about the proportions that I'm not too sure about. And I guess actually adding doors on the front facade also makes at the upper level, but I'm not saying that it can't be. So actually with this one, I actually like to hear a little bit more about what my fellow commissioners think about the present
Okay,
presentation.
that makes sense. Thank you so much. Commissioner Ginsburg?
So, few things. One is, I think we should talk to city planning and say where there's documentation that there was a porch, even if it is, because the issue is it's not a permitted the roof of the porch is not a permitted obstruction in a front yard. that they potentially allow this, because I think going back to the original would be better. However, given that they can't do that, I think I can find this appropriate. But I would love to see us talking to our sister agencies about how in the future we could make this possible to recreate what was originally there.
Commissioner Ginsburg, can you also comment on the windows that are being dropped for the
Right,
door?
I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chen?
I think Commissioner Ginsburg said it right there. I think I do find that, I have less issue with the new proposal being that it makes it proportionally very, very symmetrical and this is the original design, which is sort of suppressing the ground floor, and this is almost like centering balcony or the porch and into a more symmetrical, if you look at it horizontally, like that's the issue with.
Thank you. Commissioner Mayan?
I found the series of historic photos documenting fairly significant change to significant elements of the front facade over time to be helpful in establishing the appropriateness of this proposal within that history of change, but still within the language and the grammar of the building itself. I have no issue with it partially obscuring, as it was characterized, the bays on either side. That's consistent with one of the historic conditions. We had another instance of a successful survey, a taxonomy, so thank you for that. I'm also okay with lowering the windows on either side symmetrically to allow access to the new terrace atop, so I can find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
I agree. Generally, I would just add a few minor comments. First of all, completely agree and re-emphasize what Mark said. We have to talk to the DOB and DCP about this. This is nuts. I mean, there's so many buildings in New York City that have porches, and porches are correctly defined as things with roofs occasionally, as opposed to decks, as opposed to patios. It's just, Mark noted that it was a front yard issue, but you, John, noted that that's not the case, and that it's a general definitional thing, that there's nothing called a porch that has a roof. And that's just wrong. So I would beg the staff to bring this up with DCP and get this properly resolved. It's just a bad policy. That said, I think one of the things that I would add here is that the profile of the balcony does not look right to me. When it was the profile of a roof, it might have been okay. For a house of this style and nature, it doesn't look right. The top piece looks very heavy and overhanging, and the bottom piece looks kind of short. So I would just ask the staff to look at similar balcony roofs profiles to get that right. And you might start with the frieze at the top of the building. Probably a good place to look. Second, I think one of the things that was very distinctive about the house, both in its earliest and current state, is the fact that the columns are paired and that they make a kind of three-dimensional corner where they return. And I think that since you're getting new columns, buy a few more and go for the paired look. I think it will be more consistent with how the house looks today and how the house looked originally. And it will also give your new balcony, whatever one calls it, a kind of three-dimensional quality. As you're walking down the street, you'll see that paired column setting back and kind of creating a three-dimensional space. I think that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
Yeah, the scale, the scale has changed. And why has it changed? It's because we have these bay windows, and the original one, the balcony fit in perfectly with the bay windows symmetrically. So the scale and the elevation works very well. It fits in. And the new one, because it overlaps part of the bay window system, it looks out of scale. It looks larger than it should. Not sure that adding 2 more columns or is going to change that scale proportion. I think somehow you have to reduce the scale of the balcony somehow, because the scale now is just out of scale.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner True?
Yeah, I think that this house has undergone a lot of changes since its initial design and build, and it has altered the character of it significantly. What I'm really reading in the original design of the house, of course, there was the roof, and the roof issue is also troubling. I can imagine that sometimes when you do a covered roof or a covered porch, it may be a zoning question of counting FAR, and if you don't cover it, you don't need to count the FAR. I don't know, John, if that adds to this, but that could be a factor here. But I do commend the applicant's desire to bring back the original character of the house, and that's why I think they mentioned the horizontality, because the house had a much more horizontal character originally. And what I'm finding confusing is now I've got horizontal and vertical. And when I look at the image on the right, these comments about the columns that were made, I think are valid. That there's something that has changed dramatically in the character. I also agree with Frank's comment that they just seem oddly placed in front of the windows at the porch level behind. I would offer a couple suggestions, and one is that if the desire is to continue to get the feel of the original building by increasing this porch, the horizontality does help, but I think that continuing these vertical posts on the porch also take away. The emphasis should be on the horizontal element and the profile of that to make it seem more as a roof. The balcony rail should be minimized in its appearance and stop that verticality. I'm disturbed by the doors on the facade actually quite a bit. I feel like the house behind the porch, the front portion of the house has altered a lot over time. But having those windows become doors, I think, sends it in a direction that's beyond just the facade, beyond the facade of the house and into the porch roof area that I don't think is appropriate. I could look and approve something that has been done to the porch, a revision of the porch expression, but I do not feel that turning those into doors is appropriate on the main facade. Yes.
Commissioner Ikembe, do you have additional thoughts?
I guess just based off of hearing all the commissioners, I do find that I could make this appropriate, but as what was stated, I believe there should be some work done on the porch itself and the balcony, its proportions, more or less its arrangement, maybe sizing. I guess looking into types of column sizes and arrangement. Also working with the profiles, more or less just all together.
Commissioner Ginsburg?
I would add there's a problem here. I understand some people's concerns with the windows to doors, but if you don't make the doors, it's not a balcony, at which point the building department won't approve it, I would imagine. So we're in a sort of catch-22 right now of how we deal with that.
Okay. I think we have a lot of comments from commissioners, and I think we're going to take no action today, but please think about some of the comments that you've heard today, including some talk about the profile of the balcony, paired columns, some maybe perhaps reducing the height of the railings. And working a little bit on the scale, but I think we're going to have to bring you back at a later time. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the next item. This is public hearing item number 4, LPC 26-02253. This is an application for an advisory report in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1274, Lot 34, 1 Grand Army Plaza, Grand Army Plaza Scenic Landmark. This is a plaza originally established in the 1860s and expanded and redesigned by Carrere and Hastings in 1913 to 16. And the application is to install light poles and related equipment.
Good morning, commissioners. Can everyone hear me? Hi, I'm Diane Jackier. I am the Vice President for Program Management at the Central Park Conservancy. I'm here with a few of my colleagues, Nick Koster, who is our Vice President for Design, Sybil Young from the New York City Parks Department, Nick Pedinati from Department of Transportation, and a new urban fellow from DOT to see how the government process works. So we are thrilled to be here to talk to you about Grand Army Plaza. And we will just go through our slides and be happy to answer any questions that you have. So just for everyone's information, in case you aren't aware, Grand Army Plaza is at the southeast corner of Central Park. It is bisected by Central Park South along 5th Avenue. Grand Army Plaza is at the north side of Central Park South, and Grand Army Plaza South is, of course, on the south side. Here are just a few photos of what Grand Army Plaza North looks like. The Conservancy completed a project there about 10 years ago. But what we're here to talk to you about is something that has come up in a current construction project that we have in Grand Army Plaza South. This project started in construction in June 2024. It's expected to be completed this winter, either January or February. So we are restoring the Pulitzer Fountain. We are conserving Pomona's statue. She's actually going to be reinstalled tomorrow. We are expanding the vault underneath Pulitzer Fountain to give greater access to our operations staff when there is work that needs to be done. And we are also doing an enormous amount of beautiful new bluestone and granite paving to really follow what the historic paving patterns were. And we have come to an issue with the lighting in this project, in this active construction project, which is why we are here to talk to you today. So for all of our projects, even for projects in active construction, we do create project goals. For this one in particular, we are looking to maintain the lighting levels required to meet public safety standards, and of course, use historically appropriate fixtures. We, of course, want to meet DOT requirements for lighting infrastructure maintenance. And then we are also looking to create and really restore, since this was here historically, lighting at night for some of the beautiful historic features in the plazas, specifically for the General Sherman statue in the North Plaza and the Pomona statue in the South. So just to give you all a little bit of background on this, and will help explain the story a little bit, this is a plan that was approved for the lighting from about 12 or 13 years ago. Some of you may remember there was a big snowstorm in October 2011. At that time, it actually knocked out all of the trees in Grand Army Plaza North, so all of those were destroyed. That spurred the Conservancy to move forward with a restoration project here for both the North and the South Plazas. The North Plaza, just so you know, is on the right side here. The South Plaza is on the left. So the Conservancy went through the approvals process at the time, and this was the lighting plan that was approved. And we moved forward since the North Plaza was one that was really impacted by that storm. Construction started in 2014 and was completed in 2015. The Conservancy intended to move forward with the South Plaza shortly after, but budget issues and COVID impacted that. So we did not start this construction project until just this past year, June 2024. So the reason why that's relevant is because at the time, 10 years ago when we did the Grand Army Plaza North project, we installed light fixtures that the central photo here shows what was installed. This is a custom fixture that the Conservancy designed along with the Department of Transportation. It's based on the photo on the left, which is from 1933, showing what the historic fixtures looked like. But the issue that has come up is what is in this red box here, the small little button called a photocell. I'm sure most of you are aware that the Department of Transportation maintains all of the light fixtures in all of the parks and public plazas, including Grand Army Plaza. So they require that a photocell be included in all of the light fixtures. There's no switches allowed. There's no manual switches allowed. Everything has to be through a photocell, which senses the outside light and turns on the fixtures automatically at dusk. So the problem that we have with the Grand Army Plaza North fixtures that we installed is that they are not easy to maintain. They break easily. And so DOT said to us, when we reached out to them at the point in the construction project for Grand Army Plaza South, they said, you cannot put in these same fixtures that you have in Grand Army Plaza North. We have to find another solution. So that's why we're here today. So DOT gave us two options to include this photocell. One is to install what's called a B pole. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. The problem with the B pole is that it is not a historically appropriate feature. It wouldn't match what was installed in Grand Army Plaza North, would create that asymmetry that, of course, these Beaux-Arts plazas are supposed to have. So that was off the table. Second option from DOT is to put in a taller pole. DOT standard is 25 feet, and we would install the photocell technology on top of that. So there's a little sort of sensor at the top and a control box. We looked at a few different options of where to put this pole off the landmark site. The first was this location just outside of Bergdorf Goodman at the south side of the plaza. This pole in particular has a lot of things on it. There's a lot of infrastructure underground. This was not going to be a viable option. Second option that we looked at was also off the landmark site, but this is not a raised curb, and the photocell technology requires a raised curb. Not an option. So what we have now proposing is to have two poles in the North Plaza, two poles in the South Plaza. These would be in grassed areas here. Having the two poles in each plaza actually allows us to have a smaller control box, and it's something that satisfies DOT's requirements for the photocell, and it's something that we need to figure out what this solution is going to be, because we are not going to be able to open up this site to the public until we figure out how to get this photocell technology installed. So this is what we came up in terms of the proposal. Again, there really were no other options with DOT. We've had a great collaborative relationship with them. But sort of the second part of this proposal, understanding that we have these poles, the Conservancy was saying, okay, let's take advantage of having these poles here and do something that we would want to do. And what we've been doing at other, sort of historic features throughout the park, which is install monument lighting. So there are a few examples of what the Conservancy has been doing over the past few years. The Dairy, Chess and Checkers. The most recent one that we installed is at Conservatory Garden. In the Italian Garden, we have lit the pergola and the central fountain. So there's actually historic precedent to install lighting in Grand Army Plaza. This is a lighting plan from 1956. These red dots show where those historic spotlights used to be. And we have a few historic photos as well showing what these used to look like. They were actually removed in the 1980s, which was the last time that the Conservancy did a restoration project at Grand Army Plaza. The thought was that the lights for the monuments would actually be installed at adjacent buildings, the Plaza, the GM building, Sherry Netherland. Unfortunately, those were never installed. So we still think that this is something that would be great to highlight some of the beautiful historic features that we have in the plaza. This shows General Sherman at night. He's pretty dark. Pomona, even though the fountain, the Pulitzer Fountain is lit, you really can't see Pomona. She is up there. So we also just have a few historic precedents here to show you other landmark plazas that have light fixtures in them. There's Washington Square Park, City Hall Park, New York Public Library. These are all within this same range of, 25-foot poles. And so we have a few sections to show you what this would look like. This is the South Plaza in a few years when the trees grow in. Pomona is 31 feet to the top of her head. We have this pole here, which is what we're proposing to install, the 25-foot pole here. Here's one of the lampposts, and then we have the 27-foot and change street light there. On the north side, similarly, the same type of fixtures. General Sherman is 24 feet to the top. And here's just the proposed lighting plan that we have showing where the light washes on the monuments. It really is directed at the monuments. At the 25-foot level, they're a little bit down, so there's no, sort of glare pointing upwards. And then here are a few details. This is a tapered pole. It's 8 inches at the bottom, going to 3 feet at the top. We do have this photo cell that's right at the top here, and then the control box currently is 15 inches long. I'm sorry, it's 1 foot 3 inches wide, 2 feet 1 inch high, and 9 inches deep. We've been working closely with DOT to make this as minimal as possible. And then I just also wanted to point out on the north side, we have 4 fixtures, 4 specific lights to light Sherman. On the south side, we have 3 fixtures per pole to light Pomona, and those fixtures are 10 inches in diameter each. Sorry, also just wanted to mention that the control box has to be at a certain level. DOT does not want it to be lower to the ground. They don't want any pedestrians or anyone to be able to touch it. There's mechanical equipment in there, so it has to be a certain height. And then lastly, just wanted to show you a few renderings of what these look like. This is the South Plaza. This is the proposed fixture here. We're proposing a black powder-coated finish. And then on the north side, this is what the proposed fixture would look like. And that's it.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Ginsburg?
Could the poles and fixtures be another color besides black?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that either.
I have a question.
Oh, Commissioner Mahan?
I think I got the gist of this, but I didn't understand it at first. I'll just ask to make sure I understand. Is the genesis of this that the photocell can no longer be integrated into the smaller pedestrian scaled fixtures, but you are keeping the pedestrian scaled fixtures? It's just that this photo sensor has to live elsewhere up higher. Is that accurate?
Right. So the fixture that we were originally proposing to do is the one that was installed in Gap North.
Right.
And DOT said it's hard for them to maintain because the photocell is lower down. It's not something that they can easily maintain. It breaks easily, potentially, I think, and Nick Pedinati can answer this better than I could, I'm sure. It doesn't work as well. So they said,
Right.
we are not going to let you install these in Gap South. So that was the issue. There's
But you're-
another pedestrian style pole, which is the B pole, but
Right.
that is not historically
Right.
appropriate.
But are you still installing the same light pole on the south
Correct.
as you have on
Following
the
the-
north? It just doesn't
following the-
have this,
Correct.
the photocell is the element that's
Sorry
hard
if
to
I didn't
maintain, not the
explain
whole
that.
thing.
Yes. So the
Okay.
pole, we would still install the fixtures according to
Okay.
this plan. All the yellow lights where the yellow dots would be the fixtures. And then this tall light pole sort of gangs everything together and
Great.
is controlled by that the photo cell on top of the poles.
Thank you. One more question. Is there a professional lighting designer
Yes.
involved that's specifying fixtures, light levels, color temperature?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been working with Klein Betrich.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, it's interesting because the way you talked about it was, since we're doing this job, why don't we look at the whole plaza holistically, and how do we do a lighting strategy that makes sense overall? And that's, am I correct? And
That is
therefore,
correct.
why are we not lighting the monument and just public area around them? So you combine your strategy to
Correct.
alter
Yes.
the whole character of this, which brings more attention to Plaza and makes it a destination more nighttime visual effective.
Yes.
And the monument, Sherman Monument does face to the left, so you're lighting the front face of it.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Okay. Because they're one-sided lighting in this concept.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
Is the language of the pole, right? You have a historic poles.
We'll
And
go
then
to
you have
the
these other-
section. Will that help?
So the language of the poles have changed, the height and the form.
Adding those
Is-
taller poles.
This is,
For the language,
Yeah.
the whole
different
language,
style.
they change the language.
yes, this is what's being added.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in this room who would like to speak on this item? Noting that there isn't, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Craren to see if we have any public testimony, remote testimony.
Anyone in Zoom who would like to speak on this item, please use the raise hand function. All right, so first I'm going to call on Jeremy Woodoff. I'll elevate you to panelist. Please unmute yourself, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jeremy Woodoff. I'm speaking for myself on this application, and it will be extemporaneous because until I heard the presentation, I wasn't aware of what was driving this application. I do agree with the testimony that you will be hearing from the Victorian Society and others about the inappropriateness of these poles and the way they look in the light of day when they will be extremely obvious and interfere with views of the monuments and the surrounding historic buildings. But I need to say that for 20 years, I was on the staff of the commission and was the liaison with both the Parks Department and Central Park Conservancy and the Department of Transportation. And I can tell you that if the commission accepted what DOT said about its proposals for historic designs and materials, today there would be no historic streetlights in the city, no reproduction streetlights, of which there are thousands, many in historic districts, no bluestone sidewalks or granite curbs, no cobblestone streets or granite sidewalks in Soho. DOT always says, no, we won't do this, we can't do it, it's too expensive, it's dangerous. There's always an excuse. And it was only because the Landmarks Commission insisted that there were other ways, there were other possibilities, that in fact, we have been able to maintain historic features of our streetscapes. So I would urge the commission to insist that DOT find another way to install photocells to control these lights. The idea that photocells would drive these 4 25-foot tall poles is frankly absurd. And there are other ways as well to do nighttime lighting if that's considered necessary. So thank you very much. That's the end of my testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, I'll call on Christina Conroy. Promoted you to panelist. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Christina Conroy for the Victorian Society in New York. Now, this lengthy presentation seems to be about only the installation of 4 tall floodlight poles in a scenic landmark. Nighttime lighting of monuments can add to their appreciation and enjoyment by the public, but when the required hardware is revealed by the light of day to be ugly and obtrusive, it is not appropriate. These poles will intrude into the view sheds of the Sherman Monument, Pulitzer Fountain, and the landmark buildings surrounding the plaza. No matter the viewer's location, the poles will be a looming presence, spoiling views and diminishing the grandeur of the monuments and the buildings. The precedent images provided only serve to confirm that the method of lighting is not worth the daytime effect of the hardware. There are other materials for providing nighttime monument lighting, and these include in-ground lights and lights in the fountain basins, which the applicant's photos shown have been used to great effect. Modern small LED fixtures unobtrusively mounted to existing ornamental poles or other features are another possibility. If the applicant does not find any less intrusive method viable, then our recommendation is that no special monument lighting be provided. The damage done to the landmark's landscape during the day isn't worth the nighttime effects. The commission has the right, and we would say the obligation, to require the applicant to consider the present more appropriate alternatives for review. We urge the commission not to act on this application until that is done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll call on Megan Fitzpatrick. Please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak and state your name for the record.
Hello, Commissioners. Megan Fitzpatrick speaking on behalf of Landmark West. The Landmark West Certificate of Appropriateness Committee would like to thank the Central Park Conservancy for presenting this proposal to our committee, and we appreciate the dedication and care given to this beautiful plaza over the years. It is unfortunate, however, that after such thoughtful planning and conservation work, the introduction of 4 harsh utilitarian floodlights with over 2-foot large control boxes will detract from years of efforts spent restoring this world-class plaza. Our committee believes this design should be reconsidered with a more subtle lighting that better complements the historic character of the site. We also encourage DOT and the Conservancy to study how other major cities illuminate their historic plazas, ensuring that any intervention enhances rather than diminishes this treasured scenic landmark, hopefully setting a model for other installations citywide. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll call on Zainab Turan. I promoted you to panelist. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Zainab Turan, and I'm speaking on behalf of Friends of the Upper East Side. Our Preservation Committee supports the use of focused illumination to highlight the architectural and cultural significance of the fountains and sculptural elements at Grand Army Plaza North and South. Thoughtfully designed lighting can enhance public appreciation of these historic features. We thank the Central Park Conservancy for presenting the proposal to Friends and for its ongoing stewardship of this prominent public space. However, the committee believes that functionality must be balanced with aesthetic sensitivity. Compliance with Department of Transportation regulations should serve as a baseline, not the sole standard for appropriate design. We are particularly concerned about the visual impact of the proposed 10-inch diameter lights and oversized control boxes on all 4 lighting poles. These bulky additions are visually intrusive and detract from the historic character of the landmark. The recent restoration of Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn used similar gray finish poles without such control boxes, and even those are found to interfere with the landmark setting. Commissioners will find a photograph of this included as an attachment to my written testimony. Therefore, we urge the Conservancy to pursue a more integrated and historically appropriate solution, one that respects the integrity of the plaza and preserves its landmark quality. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, and next we have Kaylee Johnson. I promoted you to panelist. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Kaylee Johnson, speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HTC would like to note the care that the Central Park Conservancy has given to this plaza and its restoration. However, HTC finds the proposal for 4 25-foot poles with floodlights and large photocell control boxes to be an inappropriate method for illuminating this scenic landmark. We urge the DOT to research other precedents for lighting historic plazas and landmarks and to create a more sensitive and thoughtful solution for the lighting of this plaza. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to testify, please use the raise hand function. Seeing no additional raised hands, I will note that Manhattan Community Boards 5, 8, and 11 recommend approval. CB 10 Parks Committee recommends approval. However, the full board has not yet voted. And then I guess we're also waiting on a resolution from CB 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to any of the comments?
Hi, Commissioners. Nick Bettinati from DOT. I just wanted to take a second to talk through some of the technical requirements from us. I not to take issue with some of the testimony, but I do think we've tried to work very proactively with this commission and with partners like Central Park Conservancy to come up with historically appropriate and sensitive solutions. We've done this throughout our streetscape capital projects and in many instances. The same is true here. Again, the fixture that you're seeing throughout Grand Army Plaza, both north and south, is not a DOT standard, right? It is one that was specifically developed by the Conservancy as a response to this here. I think what we found with the poles that have been installed in Gap North is that we can't maintain them, right? That photocell does not work. And so that's a challenge for us. We have 300,000 streetlights in the city to maintain. And the photocell technology that we're talking about here is what we do, period, right? We don't do timers. Obviously, you are all professionals. You know there are other ways to do lighting. We're not trying to pull wool over your eyes. But for us as an agency, the photocell is what drives our technology and is what makes sure that we can actually light these poles. Most of our pedestrian scale poles each have their own photocell, right? So the B poles all have a little photocell on top. That's what controls them individually. In this case, we are trying to be sensitive here. We're not saying, okay, lop off the top of this beautiful historically designed pole and put a photocell there. That's where we're coming up with this solution where we have a single photocell that will control all of the lights on this plaza, which is also not ideal for us. That's not typically how we want to do this. So we have been trying to work with Central Park Conservancy to find a solution here that makes sense, that is maintainable, and that ultimately sort of creates the minimal amount of clutter that is necessary on this space and still works in concert with the rest of it. I will say DOT does not do monument lighting. I think this commission is aware of that. We do street lighting, we do the pedestrian scale lighting. The monument lighting is not something that is directed or maintained by this agency. I just wanted to clarify that piece as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
Okay, before you sit down.
Absolutely.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Commissioner.
Couple of questions.
Yes.
How big's one of the individual light photosensors?
Photocell,
Right?
they're pretty small. They're about
Would you stick one on the top of those historic 12-footers?
So
It would look like a little bit of a wart. I mean, would it be doable technically?
I think there are two concerns. One, to put it on top, we would have to get rid of that top finial. Otherwise, there's a chance it would block. So that
Okay.
I don't know. Do we have an image of the pole? Sorry.
Or like near the top on the neck or something facing south, whatever the.
Other challenges, there's a technical one from the wiring perspective with this pole that and maybe Nick, you can speak to from the lighting manufacturer.
We've spoken to the, Nick Koster, we've spoken to the vendor at length about that, and it's not possible to get the wiring up to.
Could you put the photosensor in the neck on the column?
At that point, then, sorry. For the Zoom folks. At that point, then the photo sensor gets blocked or maybe triggered by when the light turns on, right? Then the photocell needs to be on top so that the light fixture itself doesn't trigger the photocell and then turn it off.
Another question. You have street poles that are at the perimeter. Could these lights be attached to the street poles and then you could work off that photo sensor that's already integrated into that?
The floodlights you're saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
A street light.
Yeah.
Or could you add street poles? You've already got the historic street poles in a few locations. Could you add them on the edge of the street instead of in the middle of the space in such a way that it would, you could add your floodlights to your 27.7 a street pole and, maybe add another one kind of at the street edge instead of putting it in the middle of the park. Would that be feasible?
So I'll let CPC talk to the floodlight piece for the photocell component. We can't add the photocell for the street light or for the pedestrian poles to the street light because there's already a photocell that controls that.
Could you do what you need to do, what you're doing with the 25-footer? Could you do it with a 27 7-footer on the street?
So
for DOT's lights that don't have good photocells now, could that be done instead of off of a 25-foot pole in the park, off of a 27 7-foot pole out of the park that would have a street light on it?
So that piece, again, there's not that many streetlights there, right? So I don't know if you can get all of the practical ones. From a street lighting perspective, we don't need to add additional streetlights, right? Like,
Even though you don't need it?
generally speaking, we don't do that. It's just from we pay for the electricity of every streetlight, right? So if we're adding additional streetlights, that's more cost to the taxpayers. It is an efficiency piece, right? Just to be frank with you, right? We only put the amount of streetlights out there that are required to meet our roadway lighting standards.
And the streetlights that are there now couldn't do the function of housing the box and the gang sensor that would function for the lower level fixtures?
Correct.
Wouldn't be able to do that because it's not big enough, or?
The amount of things that we can put on the streetlight is limited. And then from a practical standpoint, that one streetlight, I don't know lighting wise, and this is again for the monument piece.
Might be too far
I
away
think it
or
may be
something.
too far away. I don't know about the lighting that.
Yeah, setting that aside, because the driver of this project is the photocells for the little guys, for the 12-footers.
Correct. We need to
So-
figure out a way to
so-
have that technology.
So let's put aside the floodlighting for the moment. Could you put the sensors for the 12-footers on the 27-footer?
On the street light, you're saying for that. The understanding for me from our street lighting folks is no, we wouldn't have two photo cells on that 1-foot pole. We do need a separate one because it is so many, like we are controlling each and every one of the pedestrian scale poles from that one photo cell. That combining them onto the street light that also has its own photo cell is a challenge technically. That's why we want
Last
the
question, if
separate
they
one.
took that very pole, or those very poles, those four, could they move them to the street edge? Would that be legal?
That we could work on, right? The actual location of those floodlights, yes.
Thank
you.
Sorry.
Oh, and appreciate the questions.
I mean,
Okay, Commissioner Chu?
just to to understand,
Dive down further.
when I look
Okay,
at the
I got it.
pole itself, it's that cell backpack that I keep looking at. The
control
lights
box?
to me are
Mhm.
part of the design of the pole, but the backpack is really strapped on. What are the options of moving that? I understand you don't want pedestrians to have access to. Can that be lowered to the ground and inside a box or something that you
Or in a
can
vault.
lock?
Or in a vault.
Somewhere, yeah, that just, when I look at it, I understand the functionality of a lighting pole, but when I see the box, it's just up in the skyline. It's hard to look at the box, and so I'm trying to figure out to move the box somehow.
So the box itself can be lower. It doesn't have to be at that height. We do need the box and it does need to be attached to the pole because that's where obviously the wires are coming through and that's part of the circuitry, right? Like that's what then ultimately the photocell connects into the electrical components in that box and then that's what turns on and off the rest of the lights.
Couldn't it not go to the pole to a location, just
I
landscape or something?
that piece, sorry, I don't know the answer to that one question, whether we can take it off of the pole itself. All of our boxes are typically mounted on poles, right? Just in terms of what you see.
Vault in the base?
Vault, no, because we need to be able to access it in an easy way. And then from a flood resiliency and waterproofing perspective, I don't think we can put that equipment underground where it would be subject to water intrusion.
The custom pole, could they build a thing that would house it?
If it's above ground, possibly. Again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but
So there are
that piece
options
is
for moving the box, the control box, and there's some flexibility in the pole location. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
So one thing in looking at moving the pole locations, you have trees around the exterior. And one of the things I realized looking at the design currently is the poles are inside the trees, so the trees don't interfere with the light of the pole. If you move them out to the street, would you have problems with the trees? In effect, instead of projecting light on the structures, you'd be projecting leaf patterns on the structure.
So I don't know if you want to speak to this. I think if you move it to the 59th Street side, you wouldn't necessarily have those issues because we don't have trees on that front. But
Okay, thank you.
otherwise, yes, that would be.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Commissioner Chen?
Just out of curiosity, for the visitor, is there any plan for any visitor center I occasionally think I see some portable, bath distribution. Am I correct, or? Reason for my asking is obviously the backpack issue that Commissioner Chu and going to is obviously have a mini structure that is have a rooftop.
There are no plans for a kiosk in Grand Army Plaza. The closest one is at the dairy, which is a little bit in towards the park.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Jefferson, can you make a motion to close the hearing? Everardo?
So, so move.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu, can you second that?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Mayen, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Sounds like there might be a lot of different opinions on this one. I'm not sure, but it is funny the way the Conservancy got to this solution. I'll back up actually first and commend the Conservancy on the wonderful restoration work that they're doing. It's going to be lovely. I walked by here many times and I'm looking forward to it myself. It's funny the way that the solution was sort of backed into. I actually find the aspiration to illuminate the two monuments quite commendable and a great idea. I know that the commission doesn't regulate the wash of light, only the fixtures themselves. Nevertheless, I think the intention is commendable and will enhance the overall landmark and the public's enjoyment of it at all hours. So I'm inclined to find a way to enable that to happen. I find the idea of the poles, their general height, location, and design to be appropriate. I do not think that the 4 poles organized on the oblique from each of the 2 monuments will interfere with sight lines. I do not think there are very good viable alternatives to these locations. I do think that they should distinguish themselves as stylistically distinct from the historic fixtures, which they do. So I find that appropriate. I find the dark finish to be appropriate as well. There were various references and testimony made to lighter finishes or photos of, lighter, more metallic looking finishes. I find those to be more utilitarian, and I find the dark finish to be more appropriate. I find the lights fixtures themselves to be part of the character of the pole and fine. I do take issue with the circuitry box, the backpack. And I would encourage the applicant to find a way to just mount it at the base of the pole, at ground level. I think that could be okay. I understand there's a concern relative to pedestrians, but perhaps it seems like these could be designed in such a way to be locked and secured and even waterproofed. And but I think if they were, essentially at ground level below waist height, there would be very little issue with them. So overall, I find this appropriate and suggest modifications to the location of the backpack. I actually think it's going to be a great enhancement.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, I think Frank said it well, and I think that this is not the first time that we had to deal with issues in plazas and in monument settings, and I think they're quite clear. I think that session about, and just like Commissioner Chu and Goldblum about the way to deal with the backpack, that would be ideal, and I think that but lighting is important, and I think great lighting is that, you don't even understand the source, but you understand the beauty of Pomona or the statue. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
Having started my life doing lighting design, there are two parts to lighting design. There's what the lighting looks like, and then there's the physical, what the fixtures, poles, etc., that you have to put in for the lighting. And often architects, I find, sort of concentrate on the second without discussing the first. So first of all, I think the lighting is great, and I think it will enhance the monuments. And I agree with the fellow commissioner comments with the following. I think moving the box into the base of the pole, even if the base of the pole has to get bigger to make it work, would be good. The other thing is, I was not, when I talked about color, I was thinking more of a tan color, not a silver color, because I have seen light fixtures painted a tan color. And when we look at this rendering here, the background is in good measure. I know if I'm looking north, the background's the park and probably green for 6-8 months of the year, but that the tan color may just make the poles a little less and the fixtures a little less noticeable. So I would suggest looking at that and looking at moving the box, but I think the lighting will enhance the site and should be done. And obviously the cells are needed in a place that works and without major maintenance issues.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe?
Yes, I'd like to, first of all, compliment as going through the exercise to realizing that there are other opportunities to improve things. So the addition of the lighting to the monuments themselves, I think that is something to be lauded. I think this has been a great discussion, and because of it, I believe we can all think about possible ways to even improve what has been presented. And I guess the biggest thing actually being the control box attached to the proposed lighting pole. I believe with a little more discussion, we can move forward, and I would be able to find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
Again, I'm going to echo my fellow commissioners' comments about the Conservancy. Beautiful job at shepherding this restoration of Grand Army Plaza. I think in general, everything they're proposing is makes sense, and a lot of it is just practical maintenance of our historic landmark sites and structures. So as we look at the improvements to lighting and this approach to solve the cells, I agree with my fellow commissioners in that if there's a way to find another location for the big backpack near the base, then I think this is a good proposal. The only other comment as a minor adjustment might be to look at the plan locations that were for the poles and if from a lighting perspective, the angles and heights still work as proposed, if the poles could be on the outer corners of the green spaces, because those corners where the plaza split in half are busy with traffic, there's food trucks, there's garbage cans. I think if the poles were out on that corner, it would be less noticeable, only because when you're standing in the north or south plaza around the monuments, the fact that we are in a plaza means that it's low rise and there's nothing high, which is what's beautiful because you get space around you to see the city fabric around you. And the further, just slight bit might help keep that area a little more clear.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
I see this as a functional solution and a stage set. I see I can accept the lighting fixtures because they're kind of lighting the stage set. The only issue, and that works, and I think it works really well. I think the issue for me is that if they're not part of the stage set, they're separate. So maybe they should be a different color, different, so that we know that this is not part of the set. This is something brought in to light the set. And then whatever, if you have to lower the boxes, the proportions, change whatever you have to change to make it see more adaptable, fit better, I can agree.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
Thanks. I generally agree with what others have been saying. I do, though, think that the poles should be moved out to the street edge. I think that the nature of the space is changed when you put these big fixtures in it. I think that when you get to the edge, you're in the city already. You've got bus stop signs, you've got garbage pails, you've got all kinds of other urban detritus that's lining the edge of the streets, not to mention buses and cars that are, a couple of inches away. So I think that preserving the scale and quality of the outdoor space would be greatly enhanced by pushing the poles to the perimeter. And if that does impact the ability to light the statues, I think that's acceptable to me, since that was not the driver for this. The real driver for this was the location of the photocells. And I think that since the pole is a custom affair, most light poles, whether they're the decorative ones or the more modern ones, do have a box on the bottom for wiring and equipment. So I think that the design could be modified to house the required technical equipment in something that was lower. But I personally think that the fixtures should be pulled out.
Thank you. I think that we can make a favorable report, maybe incorporating some of these suggestions, including moving the control box lower, close to the base, maybe studying the color of these poles and exploring the possibility of moving the location of the poles to the perimeter. Commissioner Mayen, do you feel comfortable making those changes or adding those comments? Thank you. Yeah.
In the matter of LPC 26-02253, 1 Grand Army Plaza Scenic Landmark. The plaza originally established in the 1860s and expanded and redesigned by Carrere and Hastings in 1913 to 1916. Application to install light poles and related equipment. I recommend that a favorable report be issued, finding that the proposed work will not eliminate or damage any significant architectural or historic features of the plaza, that the installation of the poles will support the proper function of lampposts, a historic feature of the site as required by DOT specifications, and the lighting of the sculptures at the top of the monument and fountain, thereby enhancing the public experience of the plaza. That the poles will be compatible with the symmetry and formality of the plaza design in terms of placement and will not detract from any prominent vistas, with the caveat that the applicant study moving the poles to the perimeter of the plaza, that the poles will be seen in context with existing taller streetlight poles and primarily against backdrops of tall trees and buildings, that the 4 poles and attached equipment placed at the outer periphery of the plaza are simply designed in dark and finish, allowing them to have a neutral presence, with the caveats that the location of the control box be moved to be lower and that the color of the poles be studied, and that the work will not detract from the special historic character of the Grand Army Plaza scenic landmark.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. John, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg.
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum.
Aye.
Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mayhem.
Aye.
8 in favor, none opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. That's approved. Let's move to the next item.
The next item is public hearing item number 5, LPC 25-09484, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 530, Lot 7502, 27 to 29 Great Jones Street in the NoHo Historic District Extension. This is an Italianate-style store and loft building designed by Louis Berger, built in 1868 to 70, and a Renaissance Revival-style store and loft building designed by Charles W. Clinton and built in 1891. And the application is to replace the granite sidewalk.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Orlando Garcia. I'm the architect in charge of the renovation of 2729 Great Jones Street. I'm here with Stephen Wong, who's the structural engineer, and today we're presenting the application to replace the sidewalk. The building is located in the NoHo Historic District at Great Jones Street between Bowery and Lafayette Street. The photo on the right is existing conditions of both sidewalk and building, this is current condition photo taken 2 weeks ago, and we are currently renovating the storefront. We're replacing it, which we're going to start in a couple of weeks, hopefully. And so this is the current condition right now. The storefront replacement was approved by the commission in early April of this year, so we're happy to move forward on that. And this plan shows the buildings that still have granite sidewalks on Great Jones Street between Bowery and Lafayette Street. There is no granite sidewalks on the north side of the street in this block. So there's only 3 other buildings that still have granite sidewalks. I'm not sure if 47, 43, and 39 are vaulted sidewalks, but 27 and 29, they are. This is the existing conditions of the adjacent sidewalks. You see a mix of different types of pigmented concrete, light concrete, and gray concrete. A close-up of those conditions. You see darker pigmented concrete on the left, lighter on the right, and definitely much lighter on near the corner on Lafayette Street. So we conducted a series of probes both in the near the granite flags and the concrete to try to determine the depth of the slab. We found out that the granite flags on the east wall, which is above the electrical room, they are about 7.5 inches thick. Oh, sorry. The granite flags on the east vault are 7.5 inches thick approximately. We did the probes though in the field and abandoned field manholes to not, we were not drilling the granite. The west vault, they are 10 inches thick, and the concrete on average is 10 inches. These are the photos of the pro. We used a 12-inch drill bit, 1/4 inch, and then on the left you see the east vault drilled in the manhole. We drilled through the concrete. On the second image is the above the metal deck, so it's a 10.5, 10 inches. The third is the east vault, also in the manhole, 8 inches, and the last one is on the west vault, is 10 inches. So this is a close-up of the conditions. Flags number 1, 4, 8, 9, 12 are cracked. You see the abandoned manholes in some of them, and there is some abandoned utility cleanout openings also, with some, as you can see here, with some cuts in the granite flags near the center of the flag in this case. There is no curb, of course, and of course, as it's customary, there is a concrete pillar here and here, and of course, this is the concrete side. So that's the current condition of the site. This is a section showing the difference between the 2 vaults. On the east side, you see that the granite flags are supported directly on the steel beams, and what we assume were reinforced at some point. You see I-beams in the center and channels on each side. The right side is where the slabs are thicker. It's the structural solution was different. I'll show it in a minute. So you see the difference between the two. This is a section through the east vault above the electrical room that houses the electrical equipment for both the Great Jones Spa and the residential units. You see there is no waterproofing membrane, there is no insulation, there is no structural slab below the granite flag. They're just directly supported on the steel members shown here in pink. There is, this point, there is water penetration through here in this connection, damaging the structural members in the pockets. There is also water infiltration between the connection of the granite flags and the existing concrete slab. You see here, this is 10 pH, 7.5, and this is 7.5 inches. Due to the high levels of humidity of the spa, of course, there is a lot of condensation, especially in the winter months. So inside the space, sometimes you see like there's drips of water throughout the space coming down and damaging some of the equipment. This is the current conditions of the electrical room. Some of the equipment that you see here was replaced late last year, and it is already corroding. All this equipment was in terrible shape. You see here, these structural member support, that's the connection between the granite flag that you more or less see here and the metal deck here. I'll be showing more pictures of this. Some of the portions of the ceiling are falling off. Every time we go there, there's more pieces of ceiling in the ground. This is that connection between the concrete slab and the granite flag. So as I showed, that water penetration has led to extensive corrosion and delamination of these beams. So there's some concern there. We noticed that in some areas of the sidewalk there's ponding water above, which leads us to think that there might be some sagging in the concrete slab, of course, creating more damp. I mentioned part of the electrical equipment was replaced last year, and is directly below the structural members that support the granite flags, and it's already showing signs of corrosion. So there's some concerns there. You see here one of the abandoned manholes And as much as the building tries to maintain all the joints, they spend like $12,000 every 4 months repairing the caulking, which is expensive, and it just doesn't stop the water coming in. It's a bit difficult to maintain this condition. You see here, they put a temporary protection over the most important electrical equipment. Again, because there's water dripping from the granite flag and also infiltrating through the joints. This is more of that condition here. This is the room next to the electrical room. You see the granite flags. The fireproofing of the beams, of course, this has been falling off. These are the lines that feed the apartments, also in deterioration. Some of the connections of the steel beams are basically they're totally disintegrated, and this has to be, of course, reinforced. Again, this is the beam between the concrete and the granite flag. Fire alarm also with protection for overhead dripping. The entire ceiling in this area fell recently. And so this is the existing section of the west vault. As I mentioned earlier, the conditions are a little bit different. The structure, similar in the fact that there is water infiltration on the same places as the east vault. You see here the granite flags are 10 inches thick, but there is no support here in the center. And this is actually where I showed you those manholes right in the center of the slabs. I guess they have been lucky that no trucks have not landed on the sidewalk, because this is unsupported granite right there. This is the pump room and the fire pump room, again with the same similar conditions as the electrical room. The equipment is extensively damaged and rusted. There's some concern there. And so what are we proposing? We're proposing to remove the concrete and granite flags and potentially keep the metal deck on this area, which is not in that bad shape, but that would be determined once this portion of the sidewalk is removed. But for now, it seems like that portion is in good shape. So we've been looking at different options. The first option would be to shave off the existing granite flags. We reach out to contractors that do this type of work, and they said that due to the cracks in the joints on the existing granite flags, they cannot guarantee that they won't break. So the way they shave this, or the way he explained how they do it, is they do many cuts, and then they chisel and they break the slab to reduce it to the height. They recommend more or less 5 inches, not less than that, because it's just the slabs may break. So we're proposing a structural slab and waterproofing on top, minimum 2 inches of insulation to deal with condensation, and this would be the mortar bed. And that floor assembly, it's 3 1/4 inches thick, that exceeds the available height that we already have in the structure. And even if we reduce it to 4 inches of smaller size granite pavers, the height would be 12 1/4, which is, again, exceeds the allowable height that we have. And so we're proposing a structural slab of 4 inches, waterproofing, 2 inches of insulation, and then 4 inches of pigmented concrete, which will lead us to a total depth of 10 1/4 inches of depth. Even if we keep it at 10 inches on the east vault, we would have to replace the steel beams to reduce them from 10 inches to 8 inches in order to accommodate the depth. So these would be new beams. And as you see, the electrical equipment is right below it. The intention is not to increase the work of repairs. It's already an extensive project. And this is the section on the west vault where we would add new beam here and basically replace or install a new metal deck here and granite curb, the pigmented concrete, and on the west side of the building, this is the entrance to the commercial unit where we will be doing a new handicap accessible ramp. So it's aged concrete. It's not in that great shape. Has no, I mentioned, no waterproofing, no insulation. There is infiltration through joints and cracks, and the structure is extensively damaged. And this, of course, this current structure can no longer take the weight of the granite, and issues of condensation. So again, the solution is to replace the existing sidewalk with reinforced concrete, with insulation, with waterproofing, and of course, repair as required the existing members. We're worried to add, or ideally, we don't want to add additional weight to the existing beams that are in good shape. So this is the proposed floor plan of the sidewalk. So, it could include new granite curb from pigmented concrete. That's the ramp for the commercial unit. This would be the elevation of the ramp. And this is a existing condition looking west, and this is the proposed condition along with the replacement of the storefront. This is, of course, a rendering. So you see post, and this is a view looking east. And this is a close-up of a rendering of the proposed new storefront and sidewalk. And this is just some close details of the materiality of that ramp. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Goldblum and then Commissioner Ginsburg.
Okay, thanks. I didn't notice, are there any diamond plate portions of sidewalk on this block?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Are you modifying the height of the curb in any way?
No.
You're leaving the existing curb alone?
The height, yes.
Could you modify the height of the curb legally?
The height, I'm not sure.
Get yourself a little more space there for,
I think the current height is like 5 inches on average.
okay.
I don't know how the transition would work with the adjacent
Right,
side.
you'd have to taper it down. Could you put the insulation in your new assembly below the deck?
The challenge is the condensation would still happen above the.
Keep the waterproofing, but put the insulation below it.
But the condensation would occur above the insulation, not.
Okay.
So let me just go back to the section. Yeah, let me just go back to here. So the idea of having the insulation above the structural slab is that there is no condensation because the insulation is outside.
Right. My understanding is that if you use like a spray foam insulation, that that there's no real dew point position in that, and that it's not really an issue. That Mark probably know better about these things than me, but my understanding is that if you use spray foam insulation for a roof, for instance, which has the same exact setup as you have here, the condensation is not a concern because there's like no real dew point in that assembly, but that's out of my zone. But all right, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Ginsburg.
So I think The roof is somewhat different, maybe different because you've got the roof grating above, so no moisture gets into the insulation, at least from, right. So it may be all right. I have a few other questions because having an electric room in a vault is a bad idea. Is there other space in the building to move the electric room to?
No, and you know, you have the electrical room on one side and the fire pump. on the other
I
side.
realize that.
And I know it's one of those things that is like,
And then the other thing is to do what you're proposing, you're going to have to relocate, rip out most of the, at least electric conduit before you do the work.
like some of it would need to be replaced.
And,
And
and then this is the final, but maybe this should have been the first question. You're sort of coming after the fact, because I would imagine before you redid the electric room, you'd come and say, we got a problem above here. But instead, the electric room, you may not have done it, but the building did it, got modified. And then they're saying, oh, look, it's rusting. This is a problem. Let's look at the roof, and should have been the other way around. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Chu, did you have a question?
Well, I mean, it may have been answered that essentially if we were to keep the granite, you gotta work from the inside, like happens a lot in existing buildings where you can't waterproof the exterior of a foundation, and so you have to deal with an interior application of damp proofing, waterproofing. Was that explored?
right, you know, let me go back to one of the sections here.
Yeah.
There is a Con-Ed vault. I didn't mention this. There's a Con-Ed vault running parallel to the to Great Jones.
Yeah.
And every time it rains, we assume, we don't know with certainty, there is a lot of water infiltration to the brick foundation wall. Leads us to believe there is absolutely no waterproofing on the outside of that brick foundation wall. So we hope we still haven't determined how to do that, but we would like to dig down at least 3 feet from the asphalt to run the let me see, so to run the water at least 3 feet of waterproofing to improve the conditions on the structure. We know on where we have the vault, I think it's going to be impossible because there's a concrete Con Edison vault right next to the foundation wall.
I guess the point you're raising is that you have this condition on the vertical and the horizontal surface. What you're proposing would solve the horizontal surface, but it still doesn't solve the issue that you're going to have moisture and potential water infiltration from the retaining wall.
Right,
side.
you're absolutely right. We're exploring to use what it's called. I think the terminology is negative waterproofing.
Right.
We're thinking of using aquafine or something.
Right.
On
Post-applied on the interior face.
Correct.
I guess what I'm saying is since you're already exploring that, you're going to have to remove your equipment and panels off the wall to do all that. And I just wonder whether or not you just do the same strategy for the horizontal above, and you do that, because it's still you're not going to decrease the amount of moisture just because of that retaining wall condition that you have. Otherwise, you're doing two systems, two strategies here. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, go.
Yeah, just to head off any additional questions, the ramp that's being shown in some of the renderings is not what's before you today. What's being considered for that would appear to be eligible for staff level approval, but it's kind of pending some of the decisions here. So we're only talking about the granite slab replacement today.
The ramp, Corey, is within the existing concrete area?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Are you here to speak on this item? Anybody here to speak on this item? Noting that there is no one in the room who wants to speak on this item, I'll turn it over to Michelle for remote testimony.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to speak on this item, please use the raise hand function. Okay, first speaker will be Chloe Gregoire. I promoted you to panelist. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good day, Commissioners. My name is Chloe Gregoire, and I'm speaking on behalf of Village Preservation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Village Preservation is opposed to the removal of the granite slabs at this sidewalk. Granite is a paving material historically found throughout NoHo and Soho and is a tangible reminder of the industrial past of these neighborhoods. The slabs, which appear to be in sound condition, can be temporarily lifted to install waterproofing and to conduct any other necessary repairs to the sidewalk vault. The granite slabs should then be reinstalled in their original locations. It is important to retain this historic fabric, which contributes to the character of this historic district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll call on John Graham. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham speaking for the Victorian Society. The Victorian Society objects to the proposed changes to the sidewalk in front of 2729 Great Jones Street. We recommend that the necessary repairs be made to the structural supports without removing the existing granite flags. If the granite must be removed in order to do the structural and waterproofing work, it should be returned after the work is done. Granite sidewalks are part of the historic character of Lower Manhattan and should be preserved. We note that the applicant hasn't even suggested tinting and scoring the proposed new concrete sidewalk to match the color and configuration of historic granite sidewalks. This basic treatment is standard in these districts where non-historic concrete sidewalks are replaced. The sidewalk shown in the rendering looks more like bluestone. We're concerned that the applicant hopes that a tinted concrete sidewalk would be considered an acceptable compromise by the Commission. It is not. Stone sidewalks have been considered character-defining protected features of downtown historic districts since the designation of Soho in 1973. It is essential to preserve the historic character of this area by maintaining historic sidewalk materials. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you. And next we have Kaylee Johnson. Please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak and state your name for the record.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Kaylee Johnson, speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC finds this proposal to be inappropriate. The water infiltration issue should be addressed and the sidewalk replaced in kind. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else who would like to speak on this item, please use the raise hand function. Being no additional hands raised, I note that Manhattan Community Board 2 recommends denial.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to address any of the comments? Okay, no. Okay, Commissioners, any final questions? No? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Chen, would you second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Jefferson, would you like to start this discussion?
Of course. I would love to see replace the granite. The technical difficulties it's going to be a technically difficult job to do. And I can understand that, but I think because of where it is and the location, I think it's worth doing that going through that technical difficulty to make it look old.
Okay, so are you saying that they should just repair the water and not replace the granite? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, I understand. Okay, so you want the granite, okay. Okay. Okay, I understand, thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I don't see the problem as insurmountable. I think that they presented a general approach where they're gonna be, where they're suggesting, they're gonna be putting in new structure anyway. They're gonna be taking care of their waterproofing problem anyway. I think that given the importance and rarity of these granite sidewalks, reinstalling it is the only acceptable option. I think if that involves adding a joint to the center, that would be acceptable, although only if absolutely necessary as determined by the staff. Part of the beauty of these things are how big they are. So keeping them that big would be a high priority, but I'd rather see a joint than concrete. So another thing to consider, again, with staff guidance, is maybe instead of doing granite on the building side, do a diamond plate. And then the ramp would kind of fold into that. It's very common to see that in this district. You could do the same on those manhole covers, and you could, address your waterproofing problems while doing a solution that is typical of the district.
Thank you. Commissioner Mayan?
Yeah, these large granite slabs are such a critical and character-defining feature of this historic district and others in Lower Manhattan. It's absolutely critical that they are maintained. I couldn't support replacing them with concrete, and I honestly think it would maintaining them would be a great value add to the owner, and replacing them with concrete would diminish the value of their asset. Of course, I can't speak to that, but I can't support replacing them with concrete. I do note that the scale I find very significant as well, and would be significant to maintain.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
I agree with the rest of the commissioners' comments, and this is worth preserving, and it can be done.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
I agree with my fellow commissioners. I would add, in doing what you're proposing, you're going to be ripping up the electric room and rebuilding it in the pump room. And so it may be more complicated to do with the granite and a thicker roof construction, but it is doable, and you need to preserve the granite.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe?
Yes, I would definitely say preserving the granite is the #1 priority. You definitely have to look into how you're properly going to waterproof the area, as it seems that it hasn't been completely fleshed out. So make sure you take a better look into that. Also noting that seeing some of the existing photographs, there's some steel damage, I guess corrosion. It looks like there's some section loss as well. So it's going to be some work, but I would actually look at, while completing it, make sure that you are preserving the granite.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
No further comment. I agree with my fellow commissioners.
Thank you. It doesn't look like the commissioners can support the replacing of the granite. So we're not going to take an action. We're going to,
Make a motion to deny the
okay,
application.
we're going to make a motion to deny the application. Do we have to vote on it? Oh, okay. Okay. So do we read it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you want to read the
I need to read
motion? We need, I think you need to read the motion and then we have to vote. Okay.
So at the end, I say, the application has been denied. It's in there,
Yeah.
it's there already, so, okay. In the matter of LPC, -25-09484, application is to replace the granite sidewalk. I note that the building style, scale, material, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historical character of the NoHo Historic District extension. I also note that the flanking sidewalks are concrete, present at the time of designation, and that 5 out of 16 buildings on the south side of Great Jones Street between Lafayette and the Bowery feature extant historic granite sidewalk. I recommend denial, finding that the limited amount of extant historic granite sidewalk slab with integral curb remain in the historic district, adding to the special character of the streetscape. And therefore, these rare significant features should be retained. That most of the massive granite slabs are intact and are in relatively sound condition. And alternative ways of waterproofing the joints and cracks and reinforcing or replacing supporting structural elements as required, including from beneath without eliminating the granite, should be explored. And that the proposed work will not detract from the special architectural and historical character of the streetscape, the historic district.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum, would you second that motion?
Second.
John, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum,
Aye.
Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson, Commissioner Mann.
Aye.
8 in favor, none opposed. The motion passes and the application is denied.
Okay, this application has been denied, but please continue to work with staff. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our morning session. We're going to break for lunch. Let's return at 1:15. I'm going to ask all members of the public on Zoom to exit voluntarily so that you don't have any issues if you want to return for our afternoon session. Thank you.